Now, normally when something is actively in development, like it's gonna happen, I try not to talk about it in a way that shows big leaks. The reason for that being that, one, people can lose their jobs for that, which I definitely don't want to be a factor in. And two, you never really know how serious a company is going to actually take that. You know, are they going to be like, whatever, it's alpha footage, we moved on? Or are they going to be like, nah, screw this guy, we're taking your channel down, buddy? When basically some information came out about the live service Spider-Man game a while back with the Insomniac leaks, I was kind of hesitant to talk about it. It felt like this was a cyber criminal activity, not just a whoopsie poopsie, we accidentally put it out there. This is something where it was like actually going to be developed. It had an internal pitch, and there was a ton of stuff that's still in active development that got leaked. A lot of that I refuse to show on this channel, at least until a later date when things are out, because I just feel gross doing it. That said, literally yesterday, people found a trailer for the canceled Spider-Man The Great Web live service game. This game is not happening, it is not coming out, it is dead, completely dead, and it has been confirmed canceled by industry insiders and reporters like Jason Schreier. The one thing before I get into this is that you are going to notice that this trailer is everywhere online. Now, while I believe it would be fair use legally and transformative to show it here with commentary and with Spider-Man 2 gameplay, pictures, etc. mixed in, I'm not going to risk my channel getting a copyright strike for it because I've been hit with those before when I don't think I deserve them. So what we're going to be showing here is screenshots of the trailer along with concept art, all this other stuff that got released before, and that is where we're going to leave it. If you want to look up the actual full-on trailer, which is very short, you can. It's everywhere, and I'm sure that this will be the one time they don't enforce a random sledgehammer-like copyright policy on it, but I'm just not going to get a strike for that because I want to do live streams and stuff still, and I just don't want to deal with it. If Insomniac, Sony, or anything decides to come after this channel with a false copyright claim, I will dispute it because this information is everywhere, and there has been zero precedent set to try and take it down. All over Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, etc. People even have full playthroughs up of the pre-alpha footage of Wolverine. Before we hop further into it, if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content. I do appreciate you. Rejected media is one of my favorite topics and series we do on this channel. I'm still working on my Metal Gear video that should be up soon, but a cord I needed for it broke and then it got lost in the mail from an eBay seller, so I don't know how that happens, but regardless, we're gonna move back into Spider-Man. Now, there's a lot of things that were shown in this trailer, but essentially it was up to 5-player co-op reportedly, where you could go around taking on the Sinister Six, taking down various villains as different spider people. And this tied directly into the multiverse concept of the Spider-Verse. Now, I'm not personally sure how much it tied into it, because we do actually get to see Peter Parker from the Insomniac games, of course, in Across the Spider-Verse. We actually do see him kind of in a background role in that movie. And also, there was a lot of stuff in Spider-Man 2, the game, from Insomniac that was kind of building up to the Spider-Verse. You know, you could actually find a Spider-Verse portal in the game. There, of course, was also all of the spider bots that were pretty much canonically confirmed to come from outside of the universe, outside of the timeline that you were in, from alternate realities. So of course they were setting up these multiverse connections already in Spider-Man 2 in case they wanted to go somewhere with it. We got to see a lot of different spider people in both the trailer and in concept art. One of my favorite that we unfortunately do not get to see now was Gwen Stacy. I actually liked some of the pitched designs for this character in the concept art, and the way that she played looked really fun. Although that said, a lot of the spider people play pretty similar. They just kind of have their own tweaks and style on them in any of these games. But they were definitely going out of their way to try and include multiple spider people. Anya is in here. We had Silk. You know, we had Spider-Gwen, which they were going by Ghost Spider in this. Some Spider-Women imagery. There was also Ben Reilly, of course. And something I find interesting is that the Sinister Six in this really does appear to be from alternate dimensions and alternate realities, because we of course know, spoiler for Spider-Man 2, the Sinister Six is pretty much deceased. I mean, there's a couple people still alive, but a lot of the people that we saw are dead. They got croaked off screen, mainly, a little bit on screen, and there's some that are unaccounted for. So that said, I think it's interesting that they were kind of reusing stuff from the Spider-Man universe already, and there is some really cool concepts in here. Like, for example, you know, in Spider-Man 2, you get to see combat animations that string together between Peter and Miles, depending on who you're playing as, for finishers. Well, in this, you can see kind of the same thing. Like, you could see Miles or Peter attacking someone and Gwen actually taking them down, and this co-op gameplay sort of tying it together. There were side missions and storylines like the madness of Mysterio. Unfortunately, there's only so much we know about this until more people speak up in the future, probably years down the line, about the full pitch behind the scenes and the ideas within it. But that said, you're going to see that there were a lot of Spider people and a lot of tie-ins to various comic runs as well. For example, when it comes to Spider-Gwen, the fact that they actually directly reference the band the Mary Janes is something interesting, because Gwen is part of that band in the comics. So this is one of those things that I think is a real mixed bag. We have only so much information on it. We can see a trailer that was very clearly an internal concept trailer. What these are is basically, if I, in marketing, am, you know, kind of coming up with a pitch, and then we get some of our people to work on it, and we make a trailer, then what we do is we kind of put this together as a proof of concept, essentially like a, hey, higher ups in this company or higher ups at Sony, the company above us, whatever, this is something we could do. We think it could make money. You know, this is something that we think would be a sound business investment. Then it goes to them, and they either give it the green light or they say, nuh-uh, no, that's not happening, don't do that. This is something that, according to Jason Schreier's reports, according to all of these, was canceled, which leads me to believe that it was something that was, at least for a little bit, picked up on. It was something that was in active development that they were looking at actively doing. That said, I have no idea what kind of state this was in. It really does look like it operates almost entirely off of the gameplay of Spider-Man 2, where you have the web wings, you have all this stuff, the world is already pretty much built. It would just need details altered, things like that, and of course the engine and the gameplay and all these things would have to be stabilized and balanced for up to 5-player co-op. Now, looking at this, I'm of two minds. On the one side, I'm like, I would love to play as Gwen. I would love to play as Silk. That's something Jill, my wife, was talking to me about as well, where this is one of those live service games that, even though I don't connect with a lot of them, you know, I've taken my shots and criticisms at things like Suicide Squad and even Marvel's Avengers, I still think there could have been a lot of fun here. That said, one slide that actively worries me in the proof of concept, I would say slideshow, like the, hey, this is what we want to do slideshow, is calling this Marvel's Spider-Man meets GTA Online. The reason that worries me is because this does look fun. In the same way that I think GTA Online is actually fun gameplay-wise. The problem I have is that often the solution to these companies, whenever they make money, is to just keep doing that thing, even if it compromises the integrity or the quality or whatever of their other things. We saw that with Rockstar. We saw, of course, that as soon as GTA Online started making money, all post-launch content for their games was just basically shifted to GTA Online. There was no longer single-player DLCs for things like GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption 2. Games like Bully 2, of course, they were not a priority because they could make more money elsewhere, essentially. A lot easier. And yeah, they're still doing things like GTA 6, and I know that's a different company, but my point is that as soon as that cash cow came about, as soon as that piggy bank cracked open, and they saw how much money was there was less incentive to do other things. You can sell a Spider-Man game. Now, how well you sell it will depend on hype, marketing, how good it is, word of mouth, all of those things, but you can certainly break even or become profitable if you play your cards right with a character this big. So my concern looking at all of this, looking at all of this concept art, these trailer bits, all these things, which if you want to see the full trailer unabridged, you can look it up. It's everywhere now. It's circulating all over the entire internet. My concern with this is that if this had happened, that they would have been focusing less on single player. We already saw Sony kind of pushed Insomniac to rush out Spider-Man 2. And some people are going to say, well, what do you mean they rushed it out? $300 million spent, years in development. How is that rushed? Well, I understand. And I agree that's an expensive game, very expensive. But there were a lot of tiers to that. First off, Insomniac tends to pay their developers and give them more benefits to being a worker there than a lot of other game studios do. So that's going to be more expensive. Unfortunately, that's the reality of how economics work. Human beings are not cheap. Secondly, of course, as well, there is the fact that when it comes down to it with this game, they were already spread thin. They were already working on Marvel's Spider-Man 2. They were already working on other projects that have been leaked that, are in development. They already were working on the announced Wolverine game. And this is all Insomniac, that of course is extremely talented and does employ a lot of individuals, but can only spread itself so thin on so many projects at the same time and do a good job. That's kind of my main concern looking at this, is that either this would have been half-assed, this would have had an important story that would have been lost to time in the Insomniac timeline anyway when inevitably it went offline or something, because we have no idea how the preservation of this game would have worked. Or that this would have been such a cash cow that it took away from future single-player games. Unfortunately, Insomniac's already in a position where, as much as I enjoy Marvel's Spider-Man 2, it did have problems with rushing, with kind of the third act of the game, I would say, as well, with cutting story beats, with kind of trying to cut corners to get the game out to make Sony happy. That's something that Brian Intihar talked about in actual interviews, was that they, yes, put their all into this game, but they wanted to do even more and they didn't have time. And look at how long it took to actually come out with things like New Game Plus. And now they're having the developer debug menu glitch, which is pretty bad. So that game already suffered from spread thin attention, I would call it, from trying to do a lot and working on multiple projects at once. If you add this in, and this was in active development during Spider-Man 2, and of course going on into the future, I just am concerned that even if this was great, that it would have divided their attention, hurt future projects, maybe hurt this project, and incentivized Sony and Insomniac to move further away from single-player tight games and more towards games as a service as a whole. Because yes, as a one-off, this could have been very fun, or as something you see every 5 to 10 years, could have been fun. But as an industry focus, which games as a service is becoming, it's frustrating. So I'm kind of torn. It's like, boy, I would have loved to have seen some of these spider people, even seeing some concept art in here of Spinneret with the family from the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man comics, which if you haven't read, I think are really fun. It's like, I'd love to play as that version of MJ. That would be amazing. But at the same time, what would the cost have been? That's kind of my question looking at this. And it's kind of a question I leave to you. Would you have wanted to play this game? Would you have not? Is there anything I failed or neglected to mention that you want to mention? If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. I also do want to draw attention to our own store, CosmoBunny.shop. We have lots of new resin pieces from repurposed, recycled comic books and manga that local stores couldn't sell. They were really way too damaged, so what we did was we used some of that to actually create something cool and new for your home transformatively, and the rest goes in the recycling. We also do have handmade, handcrafted jewelry, of course, over there, and all kinds of stuff and ways to support this channel, including Patreon, memberships with exclusive content, and finally, as well, just leaving a like and commenting goes far to help us. Thank you very much to our channel members. Thank you very much to everyone who supports this channel and supports these videos. Have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shui.